Most people spend their entire lives searching for that one opportunity that could change everything. They dream about being in the right place at the right time, but when it finally arrives, they are too distracted, too doubtful, or too afraid to act. That is what makes owning 3000 XRP different. Because for once in history, the opportunity is not hidden behind insider networks or corporate walls. It is right here in front of you, and most people still don't see it. Welcome back to Crypto Equation, where we break down the truth behind the next financial transformation that will change how the world moves money and how ordinary investors can finally stand on the same playing field as institutions. 3000 XRP does not sound like much to most people. They think of it as just another crypto holding a small bet in a volatile market. But what they don't understand is that 3000 XRP is not just a number, it is positioning. It represents a stake in a network that is designed to move global value the same way the internet moves data. And once that network becomes fully operational, 3000 XRP will not just be coins in a wallet, it will be access to liquidity in the new global system. The moment you understand that, everything changes. People often ask how much XRP they need to be wealthy. The truth is, it is not about the amount. It is about the timing. Because we are living through one of the rarest moments in history when technology, regulation, and global necessity are aligning. The world needs a bridge between old money and new money, between banks and blockchains, and XRP was built exactly for that purpose. The same way the internet connected computers, XRP is connecting financial systems. That kind of innovation does not just create millionaires, it creates new financial classes of people who saw the shift before it happened. When you own 3000 XRP, you are holding a fraction of a supply that the world will eventually compete for. Ripple's partnerships are expanding faster than most realize. Banks across Asia, the Middle East, and Europe are testing on-demand liquidity to replace slow, outdated settlement systems. Governments are studying how to use digital assets for cross-border trade, and central banks are exploring interoperability. Every one of these steps increases XRP's relevance. And when institutional volume flows through Ripple's network, retail holders will be the ones sitting on the foundation that powers it. 3000 XRP might not sound like much today because the market is quiet, but that is how every revolution begins. Early internet investors said the same thing about owning a few shares of Amazon or Apple in the 1990s. They looked cheap because nobody could see their future role in the world. Today, those same companies define entire industries. XRP's design is no different. It is engineered for scale, for utility, and for necessity. The banks do not need to believe in it to use it, they just need efficiency. And when they start using it consistently, the revaluation will happen automatically because the system cannot function without proper liquidity value adjustment. This is where most people miss the point. They think XRP's price will rise because of speculation, but speculation is temporary. Utility is permanent. Once global systems use XRP to move real money every second of every day, the valuation will shift from what people believe it is worth to what the system requires it to be worth. That is the difference between a speculative asset and an infrastructure asset. You don't trade infrastructure, you build economies on top of it. That is what makes holding 3000 XRP so powerful. You are holding a piece of digital infrastructure before it becomes invisible to the public, just like internet protocols that now run the world quietly behind every transaction. Most investors are waiting for someone else to confirm what they already feel. They look for analysts to validate their decisions because fear of being wrong is stronger than the desire to be early. But the truth is, nobody gets rich waiting for permission. Every major wealth cycle started with people who acted before it was comfortable. The ones who bought Bitcoin when everyone laughed at it. The ones who bought tech stocks during crashes. The ones who trusted innovation when it was still uncertain. That is exactly where XRP is today, a misunderstood technology that will one day be considered essential. When you look at the global economy right now, it's clear that change is not optional anymore. Inflation is eating away savings, interest rates are crushing borrowers, debt is out of control, and traditional systems are breaking under their own weight. The world needs efficiency, it needs trust, and it needs speed. XRP provides all three. It does not need headlines or approval because the math speaks for itself. Instant settlement across borders near zero fees and neutrality between currencies. That is the blueprint of the future, and those who hold 3000 XRP today are holding tomorrow's foundation before the world realizes its value. I remember hearing stories from early investors who said they sold too early. People who held Bitcoin at $100 and thought they were brilliant for selling at $1,000. Today they say the same sentence again and again, I didn't realize what I had. That is what this video is trying to prevent. I don't want you to be the person who looks back and says the same thing about XRP. Because the truth is, 3,000 XRP could be the most valuable decision you ever make, not because of speculation, but because of participation. You are part of a transformation that will rewrite how money moves forever. The market right now feels uncertain. Prices move slowly, narratives change weekly, and mainstream media keeps ignoring XRP's progress. But that silence is exactly why this moment matters, because real adoption never happens loudly. It happens quietly in boardrooms and agreements between financial institutions and in pilot programs you never see until they are complete. By the time it hits the news, it's already too late to act. That's why owning XRP now, even a modest amount like 3,000, could be the equivalent of owning early shares in the Internet of money. The power of XRP is not in what it is today, but in what it connects tomorrow. Think about it like owning a toll booth on a digital highway. Every time value moves through that network, it touches XRP. That is recurring utility, not speculative hype. The more volume that moves, the more valuable each token becomes. That is how scarcity meets utility. Unlike traditional stocks, XRP's supply is fixed. There will never be more than what exists now. So as adoption grows and usage multiplies, the supply will remain constant. That's what creates revaluation. It's not wishful thinking, it's basic economics. Another reason XRP is unique is its neutrality. It doesn't compete with currencies, it connects them. That is what makes it powerful. Governments can use it without fear of losing control. Banks can use it without fear of volatility. And individuals can use it without needing permission. It serves everyone without replacing anyone. That's why its adoption is inevitable. It doesn't ask for disruption, it provides integration. The world doesn't want a new currency. It wants a better way to use the ones it already has. XRP is the bridge that makes that possible. Holding 3,000 XRP today might not make you feel rich, but it puts you in a position of strategic advantage. When the system transitions from traditional rails to digital settlement, there will be a sudden recognition of value. It won't be gradual. It will happen fast, like every major technological revaluation in history. The moment utility goes live at scale, the price will adjust to meet global liquidity needs. And the people who doubted it will say they always knew. The truth is they didn't. They waited for proof and missed the window. Every time you see price fluctuations, remember that volatility is the test. It separates conviction from convenience. The people who believe in quick flips will leave. The ones who understand utility will stay. That's how wealth transfers from the impatient to the patient. This is not about luck, it's about discipline. You're not just holding XRP, you're holding a mindset that very few people can maintain. That's what makes the difference between average investors and generational investors. The global narrative is already shifting. The International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and central banks around the world are all exploring digital asset interoperability. They are not doing this for fun. They are doing it because they see what is coming. The financial system is evolving, and the infrastructure for that evolution is being built now. Ripple's involvement in cross-border payment networks is growing. Central bank digital currency pilots are connecting to RippleNet. Everything is converging toward a single goal: seamless global liquidity. When that becomes reality, XRP will no longer be discussed as a cryptocurrency. It will be recognized as a financial standard. When that happens, 3,000 XRP will not just be a position, it will be a legacy. You will not just have money, you will have foresight. Because the truth about owning 3,000 XRP is not about wealth alone, it's about understanding the moment you are living in. This is not just another investment, it's a participation in a once-in-a-generation transition, the kind that people write books about years later, the kind that turns conviction into history. Owning XRP is not about predicting the future, it's about aligning with it. The signs are already there. Institutional adoption is increasing, legal clarity is improving, technology is advancing. Everything that needed to happen for XRP to succeed is already happening quietly. The only thing left is time and patience. Those who stay through the noise will be the ones who experience the reward. And when they do, it won't feel like luck, it will feel like justice, because they believed when belief was hardest. This is where the story becomes personal. Imagine 5 years from now, looking back at this moment. You remember the doubts, the headlines, the uncertainty. You remember when 3,000 XRP seemed like nothing, and then you watch as the world finally catches up. Banks integrate digital rails. Payments move instantly across borders. The financial news starts using words like transformation and evolution, and you realize you were there before it all began. That's the power of conviction. That's the power of owning 3,000 XRP before the world understood its importance. When you think about what it means to own 3,000 XRP, It's not about the number, it's about the understanding. Most people hold assets they don't understand, hoping price alone will change their lives. But those who truly understand XRP know that its purpose is far greater than speculation. It's a solution to one of the biggest inefficiencies in global finance. Every single day, trillions of dollars are trapped between banks because of outdated systems and cross-border delays. XRP was created to remove that friction, to unlock liquidity across borders and industries. That's not a dream that's already happening. Ripple's on-demand liquidity is live in multiple corridors across Asia, Europe, and Latin America. Those corridors are expanding. Each expansion means more utility and more demand for XRP. You're not just holding a coin, you're holding the key to a future where money moves as easily as information. Think about how we use the internet today. We don't question how it works, we just expect instant access. In the same way, the next generation will expect money to move instantly anywhere in the world. XRP will be part of that invisible infrastructure that makes it possible. That's why this moment matters. We are still early enough to participate before the world realizes what's happening. In a few years, people will call it obvious. They'll say it was inevitable. But right now, it still takes vision to see it. That's the difference between observers and participants. The ones who act before it's obvious are the ones who change their lives forever. Most investors underestimate compounding impact. When institutions begin to settle payments through XRP, daily volume will compound. As more corridors go live, utility expands exponentially. The system doesn't need millions of users to revalue XRP, it just needs continuous flow. Once volume stabilizes at scale, the token becomes indispensable. That's when revaluation happens. It's not about hype, it's about mathematics. The market adjusts price to reflect liquidity demand. The less supply available, the higher the value required to maintain balance. That's why owning 3,000 XRP could mean owning a portion of global liquidity in a new digital age. The biggest trap in markets is impatience. People overestimate what can happen in a month and underestimate what can happen in a decade. Those who hold through cycles are the ones who witness transformations. Look at Bitcoin. It didn't become valuable because of hype. It became valuable because people refused to give up. They held through fear and disbelief. XRP will go through the same process, but faster because its adoption is being driven by institutions, not retail. That's why the next few years are so critical. Every bank that integrates on-demand liquidity, every country that embraces digital currency, every partnership that connects new payment corridors brings us closer to full-scale usage. And when that usage becomes global, the world won't measure XRP by price anymore. It will measure it by necessity. There's a moment that comes for every investor when they realize what they actually own. It's not when price spikes. It's when they finally understand the mission. XRP's mission is to connect the disconnected, to make money move like data. That means you're not just betting on price, you're aligning with evolution. The financial system is broken and everyone knows it. Transactions take days, fees are ridiculous, and access is restricted. XRP eliminates those limitations. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't care about borders. It simply works. That's why it's so dangerous to the old system and so powerful for the new one. People will always say it's impossible until it's done. They said digital money would never replace cash. They said online payments were unsafe. They said the internet was a fad. The same voices are saying XRP will never be adopted. History will silence them again. Because adoption doesn't happen through belief, it happens through necessity. The old system will eventually have no choice but to upgrade. And when it does, XRP will already be there. The holders who stayed patient through doubt will be rewarded not just financially, but historically, because they saw before others could comprehend. Investing in XRP is not about chasing wealth, it's about building foresight. Every great investor from Warren Buffett to Ray Dalio talks about asymmetric opportunities. That's when the potential upside far outweighs the downside. XRP is the definition of that concept. The downside is temporary volatility. The upside is participation in a new global financial standard. That's why owning 3,000 XRP is so powerful. It's affordable today, but it represents potential that could redefine your financial future. Most people spend years saving money that loses value. You're allocating value toward a system that creates it. This is where mindset matters. The average investor reacts to price, the great investor reacts to opportunity. When XRP dips, the average investor panics, the great investor accumulates. When headlines attack the project, the average investor sells, the great investor studies. When the world finally sees what XRP can do, it will be too late to build conviction. Conviction must be built now when the world doubts, because once the system flips, the rewards will belong to those who stayed when it was hardest to hold. You might be wondering when it will all happen. Nobody can predict exact timing, but signs are everywhere. Major financial institutions are quietly forming partnerships. Governments are setting digital asset frameworks. Even the International Monetary Fund and the Bank for International Settlements are discussing cross-border interoperability. All roads lead to digital settlement networks. XRP fits perfectly into that architecture. It's not a coincidence, it's a plan years in the making. You don't need to time it. You just need to be in it before the world connects the dots. That's why 3,000 XRP today could change your life tomorrow. Because when the revaluation happens, it won't give advance notice. It won't trend on social media first. It will happen through systems activating behind the scenes. Liquidity will be required instantly, and price will adjust instantly. By the time mainstream news covers it, the shift will already be complete. That's how every major financial change happens, quietly then suddenly. Those who held through silence are the ones who benefit when the world starts shouting. Every great story has a moment of disbelief before the breakthrough. This is that moment for XRP. The lawsuits, the criticism, the delays, they all serve the same purpose: to shake out weak hands. The stronger your belief, the closer you are to the turning point. Because history doesn't reward noise, it rewards patience. The first people to believe in something new always face the most resistance, but they also get the biggest reward. When XRP finally fulfills its purpose, the holders who stayed through uncertainty will be remembered the same way early internet pioneers are today. As this transformation unfolds, remember that value is never destroyed, it's transferred. Every time someone sells out of fear, they transfer value to someone with conviction. Every time the media spreads doubt, it gives the patient an advantage. The market is designed to move wealth from the reactive to the prepared. Your job is simple: don't react, hold your vision. Because the truth about owning 3,000 XRP is that it's not just about money, it's about mindset. It's about seeing what's coming when others are still arguing about what's already happened. The world is entering a digital era where ownership will be redefined. The people who own assets that enable systems will own the future. XRP is one of those assets. It will not only transfer value, it will define it. When the new financial rails go live and liquidity flows across borders in seconds, your XRP will represent more than a number on a screen. It will represent a piece of the mechanism that keeps the world running. That's why it will change your life. Not because it makes you rich overnight, but because it puts you ahead of history. So as you listen to this, remember that this moment right now will one day be the story you tell others. The story of when you held through doubt. The story of when you understood what others ignored. The story of how you saw the future before it became obvious. The truth about owning 3,000 XRP is simple. It's not about chasing wealth, it's about aligning with purpose. And purpose always outlives profit. This is your chance to be part of something that will reshape the financial world. Don't underestimate how powerful that is. Because one day when the world finally realizes what XRP has become, you'll look back and understand why this decision, this conviction, this moment truly changed your life.